Go ahead. Sure.
Okay, this is a Google Hangout meeting of the transition team of the GROOC Social Learning for Social Impact. Um, Last time we had Lou and Sarav tried to get on, but and we had a conversation with Renato, me, and Lou. But this week Lou is off planting garlic, and Sarav wasn't able to connect last week. He tried, it couldn't connect last week. So during this coming week, we'll try to contact each member and see if they want to be on these Google Hangout meetings and try to connect with them. I think Google Plus may be enough, and we'll try to connect with them to make sure that they've got the right um, apps to make it work. So for now, it's just Renato and me. So I'm thinking that uh, the project is our transition team project is right now at this point to put together a welcoming kit. Lou in Montreal has been working with an organization that's involved with community gardening, and I know they had an interesting project where a bunch of people got together and went around to different gardens and harvested it, with a third of the harvest going to the garden owner, a third going to the harvesters, and a third going to various charitable organizations. I assume like food banks and uh, and soup kitchens and stuff like that. So she's been involved in transition effort there in Montreal that has been successful over the years. But she's been having a problem, as many of us who have come to this group have had a problem in our separate organizations in getting volunteers to become engaged and stay engaged. So that's been one of the things we've been working on, as well as a specific transition project. Now, Lou is a way of uh, keeping members more involved. Lou has wanted to set up a membership organization. Excuse me. So she wants, as part of this larger group she's with, she wants to set up a horticultural society and make it a membership organization. She thinks that will, and Renato agrees that this will keep, this is likely to keep volunteers more involved. It's more of a kind of upfront commitment, and it'll hopefully keep more people more involved over time. So, so the transition team has taken on as their prototype project to help Lou set up a welcoming kit to welcome
Mhm.
members into this horticultural society that she's just starting to develop with two other people up there in Montreal. Um, so Lou has given us an outline of what the organization is about. Renato has created a Google Doc that has it's done two things. It's first of all, it lays out how to set up an organization for starters, and then within that, there's a section on um, how to do this kind of something along the lines of a membership kit. Um, so now, um, so now it, it looks like this meeting is just going to be me and Renato. It looks like we'll have to try to see if we can get more people involved next week. We've decided to have these every Saturday at 10:30 Montreal time. So, so Renato, let's think about how we want to proceed at this point. Um, let's just um, let me think. Let's decide. Let's just talk in general about whatever comes to mind. Um, I read your Google Doc. I think
Sure.
one thing I think we should do. I think we should make that into two Google Docs. I think we should have one Google Doc for creating an organization, and I think that Lou is just getting started with this horticultural society, so that would be helpful for her
Mhm.
maybe in setting that up. And I think that maybe something that has to be done before we can really finalize uh, a welcoming kit, you know.
Sure.
Excuse me. So maybe we can set up two Google Docs, one for how to organize a membership society and or a membership organization, and then a second one just for this welcoming kit. Okay, and you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, 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 sure.
Okay, good. So so for the kit itself, maybe we can talk for a little while about the kit itself, like what we want to be, what we're thinking should be involved with that. Um,
Sure.
one thing I'm thinking is that um, what you've got now, maybe you can just pull out that section and create it and make that the base of a new Google Doc just for uh, a welcoming kit. Um, I think what you've got now is is um, is enough to get us started. What you've got now is enough to get us started. I think that in order to develop this in more detail, I mean,
Yeah.
our original idea was to have a generic model that anybody could take to any organization. I think that in order to develop that in more detail, we have to kind of reverse engineer this and and do lose. You know, it's like once she gets her organization set up in terms of you know the decision making process and the mission and all that stuff. Once she's got her organization more well defined,
Uh-huh.
then we can work on the welcoming kit and work out. I mean, actually do the welcoming kit. And I think that the process of doing that will allow us to come back to the generic model and develop that more fully. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Sure. Well,
so
I just you saw something here. I'm just testing something out here. I agree. I think that's a good path of action. You know, I would suggest that maybe in the next meeting we try to get the people talking about a specific idea, you know. So based on yesterday, I've been writing some notes there on these Google Docs, and these were just like some of the stuff we talked about, but also some loose ideas uh, about, you know, how do you set up this welcoming kit, and what do new members or old members need in terms of structure and information and support in order to thrive.
uh-huh.
But I'm not sure if that makes sense, right? So
Well,
maybe one way to go is, you know, try to get people in the next meeting for kind of a very specific discussion group. You know, let's talk about you know, these models for engagement and
oh wait. Uh, Wait a minute. I'm losing you. Just a second. Uh, I've lost your sound. I did something to this and lost your sound. Let me try again. No.
no, I think I'm back.
Oh, I got you now. I got you now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that that might be a rich discussion, and you know, connect things, people to from the team to the project. You know.
Um, you've laid out more details of what. Let me see if I understand what you're saying. You've laid out more details of what the package would look like, and now you're saying the team should begin to discuss
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, not so much about the package itself, but I think I went to a level up to think, you know, how the structure of the organization
Right.
might look like,
Right.
and then after that, we are in a good spot to say, okay, so within this structure, this is the kind of material and package we should give to them. For
Yeah.
example, in my organization, what we produced this week was first, let me see if I can, there. Oh, it works. So it's kind of a fluxogram, right? A flow chart.
Uh-huh.
In that you can't see the top part here, but you have like some questions. I mean, do you have a social program? And if they do, this is how we can work. And then, I ask here, do you want to help? Yes. If you want to help, these are the ways you can help. So you can be a volunteer, and here you can donate money, to the bottom. Can you see this picture?
I can see, I can't read it, but I can see the general outline, but I think I understand what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just it's showing up the ways to help, and then if you don't want to help, like not now, to the other side, well, let's keep in touch, let's keep connected. How do you keep connected? Well, you sign our newsletter, you go to these events, you can be in the WhatsApp group and things like this, right?
Right.
So this is one thing we did, and then we went one way further to this right side, which is to the left side, which is how can you connect? And then it was, let me change here. So there, it's like an infographic. You also can't see everything, but it goes like the 6 ways to stay connected. So this is the mailing list, and then there's a link to use. There's this website, and then you know it lays down what are the websites that we have, and our presence in the media and things like this. So this, I think, it's a first prototype of the kind of welcoming kit material that would be good to produce to members. As soon as they have it like in one sheet, all the information they need to understand how to engage and how to volunteer.
Yeah, it looks good. Let me let me let me say, I think that Lou and I have talked, and I don't know if you've been a part of these conversations, but about the problem, like one of the problems that people engage. I mean, I think that looks good. We can continue working on that. And one of the problems of keeping people engaged has to do with their level of education and literacy. I've been trying to, in some of my own posts on our Facebook page, I've been trying to use videos instead of text for something like this. And I'm thinking, Lou was saying something like 30% of people in Montreal cannot read a newspaper, which is pretty
Wow.
amazing. I think this must be the older people. I'm not sure. But anyways, there's a high level of illiteracy. And I'm thinking if that's the case in Montreal, it's definitely going to be the case. I'm guessing down in Brazil in these small towns.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that
Yeah.
maybe also technology has made the creation of videos very simple. It used to be if you wanted to do something like this, you'd have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to a professional, video maker. But now it's something that is quite easy to do. So I'm thinking that you could take um, you in Brazil, Lou in Montreal, um, could take that and somehow transform it from from a graphic to a video. and
Mhm.
this, it would be the same information, like if you want to join our organization, these are the different levels at which you could be involved. This is what you would have to do in this case, that case, the other case. So that's one thing to keep in mind as we move forward. Um, um, we might want to present uh, what you've got there. We might want to present that as a first prototype or a first iteration, and then like
Mhm.
2 or 3 iterations down the line, we might want to convert that to video. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I think I agree. I think in the best scenario, you would have like multimedia explaining and getting people um, at ease with your organization, how it works. And I think for the video part, it's very effectively just to produce like small videos, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, saying a specific thing, So how can you donate money? How can you volunteer? And then very simple, like with somebody explaining and showing things, and that's it. It's like
yeah.
a tutorial, you
Another
know.
thing is, we talked about this, I think, in the last meeting. Um, I think it's a great idea to this idea of having a tiered membership where some members can be more involved, some can be less involved. I think that's a great idea. And I think also for these videos, I mean, there can be a series of videos for different purposes, but I think there could also be like a major recruiting video that could also be used
Hmm.
as a donor, as a pitch video to donors. I mean, you could use the
Hmm.
same video, and I'm thinking that um, when we do something like that,
Yeah.
not only can we involve in the video the idea that different members can be engaged at different levels. I think um, I think we could also differentiate different motivations on the part of the members who want to join, and also maybe on the part of the donors. Um, and
Uh-huh.
like last week, we were talking about this. I said to Lou that there may be some, like, most of us are in this um, for humanity. We want to save the earth. We want to change the way food is
Uh-huh.
created and distributed. Um, but not everybody. Number one, not everybody. Well, I explained to Lou that I can see 3 levels there too. There may be some people who want to join a gardening society just because they want to garden. They don't care that much about the community. They don't care that much about the world. They just want to garden. They should be welcomed and should be a part of it. Um, there may be some donors who want to donate as a tax write-off. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah.
The second level with Lou and her horticultural society is people who are interested in community um, cohesion, community solidarity, and developing a real sense of knowing your neighbor and being engaged in your community. Um, and that, for some, that might even be more of a motivation than gardening. Okay. And then that would be like the second level. So besides 3 levels of engagement, there can be 3 different kinds of motivations that people would come to this with. The third one being, like me, um, I want to save the whole world. Okay, I don't care about gardening.
Hmm.
I'm actually not that involved in my own community here. It's like my goal
Hmm.
is the whole world and every problem. Okay, so I think
Yeah.
that for promotional video, we should make that clear. I think that also goes along with the idea that this group has been presenting, that we should
Hmm.
be the change we want to see in the world, that we should have our internal dynamics, our internal culture be a welcoming, um, an inclusive one. And in that context, I think that making people who are coming with different motivations feel that it's okay for them to be here. Whatever the
Mm-hmm.
motivation is, it's okay for them to be here. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the way to go. Um, so, what's our end product that we want from to co-create with this Grok experience? Is that like a guide for welcoming new members, or something more, encompassing? Do we want to, in the end, make a video that other people can listen and get what we learned and use them, or some blog post, or
I think I think it's right now it's difficult to predict how much progress we're going to make. I think we should decide with Lou how right now our project is to prototype a welcoming kit. Right now that's our project, to prototype a welcoming kit. And I think that can stay our focus, but I think that we have to talk with Lou about how much she wants us to get involved in her in organizing her horticultural society. Um,
mm-hmm.
Not organizing in the sense of being there and being active there, but in terms of setting up, uh, the organizational structure, the decision-making process, the mission and goals, and all that kind of stuff. I think that a lot of work goes in. Well, as you know, you spent 2 or 3 years with your nonprofit. A lot of work goes
Yeah,
into the just getting started. So,
yeah,
uh, I think that it might be possible to proceed without that. I think we have to talk with
mm-hmm.
Lou about this. But once again, I think
Sure.
that well, we can work from this from both ends. I think you can continue to. You've done a lot of great work already on on both. Um, I think this is kind of like a model. Your Google Doc is kind of like a model of how to create an
Yeah,
organization. And then I think but once again, I think you should pull out the part on the welcoming kit and make that a separate Google Doc, and we can work on that. So I think that um, number one, what we proceed with. As a matter of fact, I think we should do that anyways. I think whatever Lou decides in terms of how involved she wants us to be in helping her get the Horticultural Society um, uh, organized, at least conceptually, um, I think that we should set up a Google Doc for a marketing kit, not a marketing, a membership kit, um,
mm-hmm.
and then maybe we should actually set up 2 more Google Docs, one for the generic model, which would what you've already got there is the core of a generic model
Okay,
that can then be
okay,
expanded, and we can make that definitely like one of our projects, and then a separate project to for Lou to apply that to her horticultural
sure,
society, and then we can
yeah,
see what kind of progress we make, and we can just make
sure.
as much progress as we can between now and the end of the course, and then continue after that. I mean, this we can continue after the course is over on our transition team Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I like this idea. So let's do it. I can, I think for the welcoming kit, we should think about few things. Maybe a video, maybe a phone call from a member welcoming the person. Maybe, a written guidebook about, what it's to be a member, and that's it. You know, T-shirt and mugs,
Huh?
if you
T-shirt.
T-shirts and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, these are
Uh,
important to people to wear the uniform from the yeah.
yeah.
It gets a
It
sense
was.
of identity.
I was telling you last week about my son is went to an orientation meeting for something called Kids Helping Kids. This is like kids
Uh-huh.
who plan and execute these social good projects with very, very little adult supervision. But
Yeah.
even at this orientation, they were already passing out T-shirts, and all the pictures of the projects they've been doing. All the kids are wearing the same T-shirts. I think it's a very effective way uh,
Yeah.
of advertising, of creating solidarity within the group. I think it's I think it's a good thing. Yeah. But
It is. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So it looks like you got most of it worked out. I do think it needs its own Google Doc, but I think you've got most of this stuff worked out, and we can, we can once we can write to it. I think you have to give us permissions to write to the Google Doc. I'm not sure. I had
Oh,
trouble.
I did. Yeah, I got a notification saying that you wanted access. I set it for everybody to be able to. You should be able to edit now.
Okay.
Right.
So, yeah. Hopefully, more people will become more involved, and they'll go to that, and they'll make suggestions, and you can tweak it, and
Hmm.
that can be like um, actually, we're making so much more progress on that. That could be the prototype. If we if some people are taking this course and making progress and getting credits and stuff like that, they can use that as the prototype, our team prototype, and then we can continue to work on applying it to Lou's situation, which is going to come along more slowly, I think. But yeah, and then we can start thinking about um, as a team, we can tweak that. We can get it into good shape, and then think about: do we want to distribute this? Do we
Yeah.
want do we want to turn this into like something formal that we can distribute? You've already been doing
Yeah.
stuff like that down there. You put together like that game kit, right? That's an organizing tool. Well, this is another
Yeah.
organizing tool that you could put together to disseminate down there, or any place really.
Yeah. Yeah. It can become like an ebook or blog post or info product. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. One question I had after the last meeting was, um, what there's two ways of thinking about creating a three-tier membership group. One way is
Yeah.
to invite everybody in, and start out as a follower, and then
Hmm.
as you go along, see if some want to become members, and then as you go along further, see if some
Yeah.
become leaders. One way
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to say, okay, is to, for example, have some kind of a meeting, have some kind of like community gathering, and make your
Okay.
presentation, and saying, okay, if you want to join at one of these levels. That's two different approaches to this. Joining, like
Hmm.
declaring
Yeah.
your commitment up front, or
Yeah.
waiting and declaring it later. So that kind of um, those those may be two somewhat mutually exclusive approaches.
Yeah. I think it depends on the complexity of what you're doing. What I'm experiencing is that we have people that they want to be in the leader position. They want to be really involved, and they're right on. Yeah, I like this. I like what you're doing. But they're just coming. So they don't know about the organization. They don't know the people. They don't know how things work, and it takes some time for building this, right? So when I try to put them in a kind of leadership role, because we are very understaffed, right? There's a lot of things to do and few people doing. So when I put them in this responsibility, it's overwhelming because they say, "Well, sure, I want to do it, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how you do things. I don't know these contacts." So I think there's two things there. One, it's about the engagement, and then you should be able to engage people in the right amount of quantity that they want.
Right.
So if they
Absolutely.
want to be really engaged, okay, there's a job for you. If they want to, just show up every now and then, it's okay, no pressure, you're welcome, and that's it. Now, the other level is about what's their capacity of being engaged.
Yeah.
Because in order to be engaged as a leader, they need some mileage from with the organization. They need to have training, they need to have experience. So I find that it's very difficult to put somebody in a leader shoe that is just a newcomer, even if that person is really engaged. And the other way around too, when you have somebody that has been with you for 2 years and they are not engaged anymore, and how do you keep him or her in that leadership position? They know how to do things, they know everybody, and they know how things work, but their interest, their heart is not there anymore.
Right.
So somehow you need to uh, I don't know, either move them out of leader position, or within leader position they have another kind of role, like a mentorship role that they're just passing the,
Yeah.
so that these are the things that I still need to mature up, and I think having some discussions with the group would be very helpful to see different views and
Yeah.
blind spots.
One aspect of this that I've experienced is that you'll have a core group and you'll be working some for weeks on some issue, and you've hashed it all out, and then you get a new member in, and they say, "Oh, what about this?" And it's like they've missed
Yeah,
the whole thing, and they think they think it's so simple to just say, "Okay, we should do this," and sometimes
yeah.
it's not, and that's another problem with new people coming in and wanting to take a leadership role and really not knowing the history of the organization. Um, one thing I thought casually about this, and oh, I missed my. Let me see. Can you
Yeah,
see me? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh no, you lost me.
yeah, yeah.
Wait. Okay.
I can't see
So
you. Yeah, there you go.
okay. So this is just a thought I had, and already it doesn't sound feasible. But one way of approaching something like this, even when it's not a question of leadership, even when it's a question of just normal members doing the work, um, is to have two people in each role, and
Hmm.
if if one person, um, either is beginning to lose interest or has an emergency or something, then you have the second person to step up and fill that role, or take finish that task or whatever. Um, so that, I mean, that's a possibility. It's like, um, maybe as a leader begins to self-identify as beginning to lose steam. Sometimes it's external things like more, like a sick parent or something that requires more attention, or sometimes just burnout, whatever. If a leader could self-identify as losing steam, then you can say, okay, we're going to bring somebody in for you to mentor, and as you go along, you can kind of like gradually shift responsibility to the new person.
Hmm. Yeah.
I know that.
I definitely, I think that's very important. But also it requires a fine balance, because what I see also is that if you have you have a working group, and then you have some members that are not engaged, they contaminate the others.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So it's like I think it's important to be very open and quick to come to people and ask, well, look, we've been noticing that this is what we expect from you, this is what's happening. Is there anything we should know, or are we doing things in the wrong way? Should are you having some difficulties
yeah,
outside of this role that you need some time out, or
yeah,
maybe you're not excited, and then get them out, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Be- yeah,
yeah. I think, yeah,
because there's two. I think in this kind of work, people feel very lonely. This community mobilizing and volunteering, people feel that they're carrying too much on their shoulders, and that they're not getting support, right? And then I noticed that this loneliness, it's higher when there is a big group and you're still doing everything by yourself. There's this false illusion that there is a group, but there is none. Then people get really demotivated. Now, if you have a small group, maybe just another person or two other person with you, like we are doing right now, right? And you have somebody to talk and to conspire together. This is very energizing.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's always the thing about you having the group, and you have less people but engaged. You know.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who come to these organizations for reasons other than just to, to fulfill the mission. I mean, there are people who come sheerly out of loneliness. I
Yeah.
think that in trying to I, in trying to figure out the more general problem of how to get more volunteers, how to keep them more involved for a longer period of time, I've had thoughts of listing all of the um, listing all the problems and then listing potential solutions. And I think the problems, you identified the problem of motivation and a possible solution of some kind of compensation. I've been more focused on barriers to inclusion, and I've been looking at things like language and literacy and communication, stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
that in my experience now, um, in doing what you're doing is more like community organizing. In the past, what I've been doing is more like activism. So it attracts somewhat different people. But I found, I think the one thing, especially with an online thing, I think a lot of people come, or not a lot of people. I think there's some portion of people that come uh, for to fish, you know, to get data that they can sell. There's a huge black market on people who make money on the internet just getting information and selling it. I think people don't realize how big that market is. But there's some people who come for that reason. I think there's also not so much in community organizing, but in activist stuff, there's always going to be some people there as undercover agents just checking on you. So there's those people that won't necessarily be involved long term in the project. Okay, so I think that there's a whole list of reasons why some people don't become more active, and I think
Yeah.
that besides trying to identify, I mean, we're talking right now about trying to weed out people who aren't active. Okay, um, besides trying to identify reasons that people aren't more active and try to address those reasons to make people more active. Besides that, I think to a certain extent we have to adjust our expectations. You know,
Hmm.
I think that MOOCs in general have had to do this because MOOCs get
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people, and then most of them, I mean, I don't know what the studies are exactly, but sometimes almost most of them don't come back or don't become involved. So I think
Yeah.
that we have to have more realistic expectations of what's going to happen, and that's
Uh-huh.
okay. And that's okay, like you say, a core group of very active people um, is preferable to a huge group of inactive people or whatever. But I think it would be I think it'd be helpful just not to get discouraged. I think it would be helpful to realize that when we I think I think actually, to tell you the truth, from my previous experience, I think this team is performing much better than the average team. Okay, I think there's
Yeah, yeah,
you, me, and Lou. That's 3 out of 10. That's pretty good already. And then Art's been interested in Sarav has contributed, Chiga has contributed, and other people I think may still become involved. Some of them we've heard from for the last time, but I think that um, if we come in with that kind of expectations, okay, that at most 3 out of 10 people will stay involved. I think it'll be much
yeah.
better psychologically for us to accept that as the reality of the territory. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and also that not all types of involved engagement needs to be the same, right?
Yep.
So if somebody is engaged in terms of, oh, okay, I will read here and send out some comments about this, or I will help with setting up these kind of things, or it's already a contribution. I think that also counts when the
Yeah.
person, for example, in our case, we have some members that are very busy, but they said, well, you know what, I will contribute by sending one professionally designed Facebook post to the fan page, once a week.
Right.
And it's consistent. Every week on Friday, I can count. There will be a very well written post about something small community on the Facebook, and that's very energizing for the rest of the group. To
Right.
see
That's
that.
great. Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah,
wonderful. Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think another reason we lose people is because a, a lot of people come to like a group, the group, let's say. I think that a lot of people came there to learn and to
Mm-hmm.
become engaged, but not necessarily to organize. I think that a lot of our upfront efforts have to be geared toward organizing. I think a lot of people think that they're not qualified for that or not interested in that, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
and they drop out. And I think that
Yeah.
e- um, one way of retaining them is to make them understand that there's something that they can do, even if it's a small thing, even if it's an intermittent thing. There's something that they can do. But I think that we have to. Um, I think. I think. I don't think that they're going to come up with that on their own. I think it's up to us to
Mm-hmm.
come up with these various things that various people can do depending on their skills and level of commitment. I think that's our responsibility. Um, because because not that many people are self starters or um,
Yeah. 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 Well, great. I think that's, we've been discussing some very insightful things. Alan, why don't we start during the week, just editing these Google Docs notes, whatever comes to our mind and some insights, we and ask also the other members to have a look and to you know post comments, or
right.
write about their own experience.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll also see if I can get connected with some of these people. I think there's more people who would get involved if on our group meeting, on our weekly group hangout, Google Hangout. If they got hooked up, I think they're having trouble getting hooked up. So I'll work on that this week too. Um,
Perfect.
there's one other thought I had. I can't remember. So another fruitful meeting, I think. We're moving along.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, it's great. Well, should we start wrapping up?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Alan, and we'll see you next week then. Have a wonderful weekend.
Okay. You too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.